send a side note to my CEO saying a day well spent. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. That's a big compliment. Yeah, we really decided to be selective about who we let into the room, and I think it's worked well. So
thank you.
Thank you, Abhinav. I would love to start with your story. I see you worked at Wipro for many years, just quite a non-traditional track to get into the CTO of a publicly traded company route. How did that happen?
It actually dates back pre-Wipro. I was talking about this last night. I spent my first couple of years in data science. It was pre when it was called data science. This was an engine telemetry for Formula One. I think I ever mentioned to someone that I would see car crashes and the data would always say the driver would not survive. And so you see drivers walk out of car crashes and a lot of them happen, which is not known to public. They happen in testing. These are rookie drivers. They're trying to push the car to the limit to win a seat in the actual Formula One team. And you run a lot of engine telemetry behind the scenes even before you make it to the racetrack, right? So 3 years of doing that was daunting, trauma, I can tell you that much. So I kind of pivoted from there and went into M&A. That's how I joined Wipro. I was part of the M&A due diligence team, worked directly with some of the proprietors at Wipro. And the first company that we ended up buying, I inherited that as the tech product leader for that group. And that was in real estate tech here in the US. So that's how I transitioned from core engineering to, back in the day, what today is very popular as a role, PMT, product manager in technology.
Right.
So it was not called PMT back then. This is several years ago. And from there, went up the scale to becoming the head of product for that business, left that to start a 0 to 1 strategy for a company called Tavant here in Silicon Valley, built their product business over 8 years. And that is where I met the Redwood guys. And it was an interesting team. They asked, hey, do you want to come, run tech for us and implement all of these ideas that you're talking about? Do you want to come and implement that for us? And then, by the way, you'll have a side gig. You can also be the operating partner of our corporate ventures group.
Oh, I was like, that's what you do.
That kind of enticed me to go from technology being the business to supporting business as technology leader. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's incredible. So what's that like? So you are working in a public company which is focused on fintech for property and...
Well, so Redwood Trust is a 31-year-old company. We are publicly traded. We invest in real estate. And it's purely consumer real estate. So there are two kinds of businesses. One is where we buy and securitize, which means we provide liquidity to the market, where the Freddie Macs and the Fannie Maes don't do that part of the work. So this is primarily jumbo loans or non-qualified mortgages. It's interesting, we call it non-QM. It's not that they are bad mortgages. They're actually very high quality mortgages, but think about a new immigrant in the country working at Amazon has an amazing comp package, but just cannot get a loan, traditional loan from that's backed by a GSE. So they would they would qualify under the non-qualified mortgage bracket. There's also folks who have non-traditional income, which is bank statement income with dividends and interest income and other kinds of income sources, which are not wage earners. And again, does not qualify for a traditional mortgage. So that comes in the non-QM space. But our larger business, about 80%, is in the jumbo space, where average loan sizes are north of $3 million. So cater to all the liquidity required on both the coasts of America. In 2025, in a bad market, we did close to about $20 billion in securitization. And it's interesting. The private credit space has evolved over the last decade, I would say, with more entrants getting into the space. I mean, traditionally, back in the day, you would find the likes of BlackRock, Fortress, Blackstone, PIMCO, Apollo, those guys. Redwood would compete with them or partner with them. Now you have even the likes of Blue Owl getting in the space. We have now more recently seen family offices get in the space. So there's a lot of interest where people want to invest in real estate but don't want to own it.
Right.
And so you can do that by buying paper. And that's kind of an interesting way to look at how private credit has evolved in the housing industry.
And then in your corporate venture round, do you primarily invest in startups related to fintech for property?
Primarily areas where we can see adjacencies, but over the last 12 months, I would say we've focused on core AI startups incubating inside universities. So we've invested in companies coming out of Stanford and Berkeley and now most recently Princeton. And then these are startups that we get access to because we know the professor under whom the startup is incubating. And so that's how we go invest. But I was talking to a couple of the founders here as well that this is the stage where we invested.
Oh, great.
It's like, angel to seed, pre-series A. So this is our sweet spot of
Awesome.
in
We should
investing.
co-invest
So
together,
so we can talk about that in terms of how we can partner on the fund.
Fantastic. Well, this is like gold, right? So thank you so much. So what has been the market like when you're looking at so many? What's the scale of investments you've been looking at? How many companies per year?
It's interesting, right? We don't have a defined set. It all started off with an individual, someone like you, Mala, who was friends with our CEO and asked him, "Hey, do you want to become an LP on our fund?" And then they looked at the opportunity. They were like, "Oh, we could actually be partners on a corporate venture scale." So that's how it started for us. We've invested since then in 39 different startups. This is over the last, I think, 7 or 8 years. And our sweet spot is a $500,000 check. We have gone anywhere between $150 to $1.5 million, depending on the kind of business, the round, who else is investing in. Like one of our recent investments had traction from the likes of Jensen and Lisa Su. And so we were like, oh, if they're willing to invest, we should not hold ourselves back because very soon you will not even be eligible to invest.
Right.
And
so where do you see this going in terms of the investment trends, especially around your focus market of fintech?
I think it's very interesting. I always go back to some of the traditional the old fintechs that started and created this industry space. Start with SoFi. I don't know how many of you know SoFi. They still list themselves as SoFi Technologies, and their core engineering team was based here in Presidio before they moved stuff to Seattle, and before Anthony Noto became the CEO. So Mike Cagney is a serial entrepreneur who started SoFi and now is at the helm of Figure. So if you think about it, look at his path. Some of the stuff, they're he's probably one of the I would say champions of creating fintechs. And then came around the new age ones like the Affirms, the Upstarts that delved into buy now pay later kind of space. And I look at credit acceptance.
Yeah,
they repair everything that these guys break.
Right.
The buy now pay later model breaks a lot of credit for people who don't understand affordability, and credit acceptance and helps repair credit part of it. So, and then come the more longer tail fintechs like Klarna and now Nubank in Brazil. I did them back to Fedor in Germany and mBank in Poland.
Did you invest in all of those?
Klarna, yes. Not in Nubank. Nubank was not even known as an entity here in the US before they hit like massive valuation.
Do you invest outside the US?
No, we do not. I mean, as a REIT, we are regulated to invest only in the US. One of the interesting parts of a REIT is, I don't know how many people know this, that as a public company, if you're a shareholder of a REIT, we are required to pay 90% of our profits in dividends.
I see. I didn't know.
So and if you think about Redwood Trust as a company, we are a high dividend yield stock from that aspect. So it's very interesting how and someone was talking about ROI and how AI impacts ROI. In my case, as a tech leader on the CTO job, we evaluate tech as what's the impact to GAAP earnings available for distribution and ROE, return on equity. There's no other math that matters. I can tell you that I was talking to another founder, I think today, I said that if you come and automate a part of the process, let's say it shaves off 10% of a particular job function, I still cannot eliminate the job function unless you completely eliminate the job function. And in the financial services space, a processor, and this is where Samir and I kind of jive pretty well. A processor is part-time doing docs to data, part-time running pricing validation on the loan, part-time doing comparison on the underwriting notes, part-time providing support to cap markets. Unless you can automate all of those functions, you can't take that job away.
Right.
So what we look at, and I think this is where all of the speakers I heard this today was incredible, where a lot of these job functions will become very streamlined in terms of the value they create and can move up the scale in terms of the value chain itself. So as we automate the docs to data part of the equation, or the price reconciliation, or the loan due diligence process, these humans are moving up the chain into transaction management, trading, high value underwriting. And the one thing that I would like to also call out here is, if you talk to the investors, we went and talked to an Apollo or a PIMCO, their investment groups don't care if we use AI. What they care is the credit quality, the collateral quality, right? So unless we do a great job in saying that you don't need to hold a processor accountable for their job, you need to hold the end approver accountable for their job. So we are shifting the accountability towards the right, because a lot of the initial pieces of accountability have now gone to AI. So that's how we are.
So does that lower your cost? Did you end up firing people?
We don't. I said, right. We grew. I cannot share numbers because we're getting close to our earnings call, but we grew in multiples in a bad year with the same headcount. So if you look at Redwood Trust, you'll see. I think our net headcount growth went up from 283 people to I think 320 odd people, but our growth was in multiples in 2025. So,
and you're expecting to keep at the same rate, with the same number of people. So what's a word of advice for our founders? You saw some of them working in real estate and like Divya in the back. We also had Samir.
I think
engage with you.
I think if you understand a space, for example, real estate, right? Always go with this mindset that your next customer is going to be different, even though in the same space. Homogeneity does not exist.
Well, if you don't have homogeneity, then you need a repeatable process by which you can build your product platform and do sales. So then, are you thinking that it's always going to be a services business?
No, it's going to be a product business, but you have to first approach it with the fact that you're not exactly like my prior customer. Because unless you do that, you will not have the answers to the question as to why someone should behave like the other customers that you have. So you have to start with, I understand you're unique. Let's understand what you do unique and what's the real value of that uniqueness. And then figure out what's genuinely unique and what's just because you've done business that way for the last 30 years, you don't want to change.
Right.
And take that part and align with what your product has to offer. And that's where you kind of, what you said, we've been using this word, democratize the process while leaving the uniqueness to its real uniqueness.
What are some recommendations in terms of conferences or places where you can go to hit on, massive brokers, mortgage brokers, realtors?
Yeah, so I think the Mortgage Bankers Association, MBA, get a membership there, starting with, and they'll invite you to a lot of conferences. And by the way, design partners. So because they have so much mortgage talent in that part of the country, that there's a lot of design partners that you'll find there.
So what would be your words of advice for innovation in general for all our founders, other than, just the mortgage and the realtor industry?
I always start with the fact that when you're solving a problem, understand your self-awareness of, is it a hard problem? I mean, what's the barrier to entry? I think we've talked about this throughout the day today. You talked about this with Puneet on why what does it take for Amazon to recreate Amazon?
I just love Puneet's product because it's such a boring thing, right? Billing and metering.
No, but I was saying that I always start with this, are you solving a hard problem?
Yeah, hard, boring problem no one wants to do.
Yeah, and then the second part is that by when will you get to an economic moat?
Yeah.
Because if you cannot get, we talked about this at lunch, the distance between ASML and the rest is several $100 billion now. It's like that economic moat cannot be pushed.
Yeah.
So if you're solving a hard problem and you get to a very strong economic moat in 2 to 3 years or 5 years, you will find a massive market where they have the willingness to pay because they don't have a choice at that point in time. I mean, I saw some numbers on pricing on one of the presentations. I was like, how do you know that pricing works? Like, I think you should just right now try capture the market and then apply pricing because you've reached a point where you are the only game in town.
Right.
And that's my advice. I don't say that that's the right advice, but that's my advice.
I think I agree with you on that. Yeah. So what's a book or a podcast or a person who's inspired you?
It's interesting. I was thinking through the entire day. It's not one book. It's actually a series of 4 books, and I have 4 very different books. I started with *Sapiens*, and then I went on to Genghis Khan and Making of the Modern World. Then I went to *Culture Map*, and then the last one would be *A World Order* by Henry Kissinger. So if you read the 4 together in a series, probably you'll understand why are things the way they are today. Start with *Sapiens*.
*Sapiens* is wonderful, yeah.
Then *Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World*. Yeah. Like how did he span from Mongolia to Austria, and then *Culture Map*, and then *The World Order*. And then for all founders, I mean, this should be a nightstand book, *Mindset*.
So maybe we'll have a book club around.
Yeah, I think my kids, I'm exposing them to *Mindset* now. I have a 10-year-old who I want her to read that book. Like I was watching something, I was like, you have this, this growth mindset where you never give up. And so I think that's an incredible book to start early in life with.
Wonderful. Yeah, really engaging talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
giving
much.
me the
A big round of applause for Abhinav.
Thank you.